One second. Okay, got it. You're live, it says. Yes, I just pasted the link in the chat box. Can you confirm that's the right one? Huh. Okay. 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 Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Excited to kickstart. All right. So, heading right into how it all began. So, I was single and working in Hyderabad in my first job, and I realized I need food. So, might as well start cooking. So, I entered the kitchen, and as you can imagine, like a lot of us, my mom asking for recipes, asking for tips, wondering how to make some of the dishes that I was really craving and making me homesick. And soon I realized I was jotting this down in notebooks here and there on post it notes. I was losing half of them. Of course, I was also turning to the internet for recipes. So that actually got me thinking how I can actually document some of these recipes. And this is in particular because I come from a pretty small community that is based in Kerala in India. And we are actually, but however, we are not from Kerala. We are Telugu by origin, and the family actually migrated from state to state and just reached Kerala at some point, a couple of generations ago. So I'd identify as a Malayali. I speak Malayalam, but we speak Telugu at home. So our food is this very interesting mix of Andhra food and Tamilian food and also Kerala food. And most of my friends who come home find it fascinating and very different from what they cook and eat on a regular basis. So I was thinking, why don't I take all of these fantastic recipes and document it online? And that's how the food blog started. 2007 was a very, very different time if you think about online blogging and food blogging. So I started off on Blogger. I set up something. I didn't think much about what I would call it. I didn't think much about the template or the layout or photography. I just started. And one of my first recipes was avial, which is a classic Kerala recipe. And I called my mom, got the recipe, got the ingredients, cooked it, took one picture, I think on my phone. And back then it was these, I had this very basic Nokia phone, and I uploaded that on Blogger and off I went. Soon, I started discovering more and more fantastic food blogs, and I realized that food is very visual and photography is important. So, the change from just blogging about food and writing about it to actually taking better pictures of it was a gradual shift. I bought my first point and shoot, a very basic one that I could afford at the time. And I taught myself how to take pictures of food, the best angles, how to get that bokeh effect, the faded background. I taught myself a little bit of Photoshop. So it was all self taught and it all took some time to settle in. And fast forward a few years later, maybe 4 to 5 years later, food blogging as a hobby turned into a pretty serious affair. There were a lot more people on the scene, a lot more serious cooks on the scene, trying to actually disrupt, if you must, what we call food blogging. So that really changed the game. And so all this while I was blogging, I was cooking, but I was also working. And to me, food blogging was not necessarily something I thought of as a career or something I even thought of doing full time. It was just something I was doing, I was interested in. I loved writing and cooking and eating and photography. So it was a great mix of a lot of my passion. So I continued doing it, but I was also working and sort of progressing in my career as well, because that was my focus. Then I got married, moved to Singapore, and I continued blogging through all of it, just because it was a great way for me to, continue showcasing and documenting what I was doing. And I made a ton of friends along the way. So if I think about 2007 to let's say around 2010, 11, that's probably when the shift happened in the food blogging scene. There was an explosion of bloggers. So many more people started just creating a blog spot and getting online. And you would actually hear, if you've noticed and you've seen this, you would actually see a lot of the old time food bloggers, as some of us like to call ourselves, sort of complaining and getting a bit cranky about this because we feel like, and I'm not saying I'm part of this, but I'm just trying to reflect what I know a lot of my peers feel like. They feel like in that 2010 period, things got really diluted. So they started doing this in a more professional manner, thinking about how to blog full time, how to leave their day jobs and do this for a living. And that actually is a very different thing from doing something as a hobby. And I would like to talk a little bit more about that. Hopefully, some of you have questions. But just diving into food blogging in general, and I know a lot of people, a lot of you are here because you want to ask how to actually make this into a more serious thing, right? Because doing something online is some of the best ways to get passive income. You can work from home, you can keep flexible hours. It's a very, very attractive thing. But doing something from home doesn't necessarily mean that it's less work. So I would like to talk about the two ways you can look at food blogging. The one way that you can look at it is as a hobby, as a passion, which is sort of how I think about it because I have a day job, which I love. I don't want to leave it. I don't plan to leave it. I don't plan to do food blogging full time. But so for me, it is just a release. It is how I get you. If you just that may not work out the way you intend. So think about what the users want, what your readers want, right? What is the problem that you're trying to solve? Because food in general is one of the most talked about things on the internet. And if you are a food blogger trying to, let's say, earn an income out of it, you're actually competing with a lot of websites. You're competing with YouTube, you're competing with Facebook, where a lot of recipes keep coming up, not to mention things like cookbooks and magazines and every other place that people can get recipes from. So think about it. If your product is a recipe with pictures, you have a lot of competition. So if you want to make a niche and carve out a niche, then you have to think about it like you would think about a business. How would you actually go about starting a business? You would think about investment, right? You would think about how much money and time you have to invest. That's online, it is 24/7. So you can actually start off with a lot less, but you still need to think about investment. So in this case, investment could go towards setting up a URL, buying hosting, like a business. Think about how you comment. If you want to take a picture, put it back down, and then continue. And you need to ensure that your phone doesn't get burnt. It takes some practice. So imagine videos. It needs even more preparation because you're actually doing it live and you can't really keep cutting and going back. So you need to prepare everything. Your time, the blog is the easiest thing. Maintaining it and taking it forward is the hardest thing. And consistency is key. So I'd love to go forward, give more tips as we go, but a few questions are beginning to come in. So I want to probably take some questions as well as we move forward. So if you have a question, leave it in the comments and I'll be happy to answer them. So Afreen actually has a question about how to create a channel on YouTube. She wants to start food blog and doesn't know where to begin and how to promote it. Please guide. Food blog. Ask yourself that. And again, or wrong answer, food blog because you're the reason. You a question for the customer, they're not going to come back. So answer and address for the customer for that. In my opinion, and this is if you find oats, or you can bake sugar-free, or you can bake just cakes or cupcakes just for cakes and cakes. You can breads. That way, when people have an understanding of why they're doing it, friends, blog, or not people, but impressions out there. You have to make sure that you answer the your reader. So finding a niche, I think, is the next thing is to find your voice. Identify with what is it that you're good at. So if that's great. You also have to be good at a few other things to get blogging right. If you're a good cook that because their friends and family have a blog, it they're not interested in it sometimes. They don't like writing. They are not able to be consistent because they have other commitments. So, blogging in itself is not just about the topic. The topic is just one of the things. You could be a fantastic cook, but you also need to be good at technology a little bit, right? I'm not a technology expert, but a text, add some images, and actually craft a blog post. Then I engine optimization. How can I ensure that my post is engines like it, how images are taken in a good way. So these are things that if you feel like you don't know it, you have to learn about it. And the best way to do it is to teach it to yourself. You can attend classes, you can do sessions online if that's how you learn better. But for me, I teach myself everything. Just read, just Google for things and read. Even before you start your blog, think about how you will market it. How will you, what is the one thing that will make your website stand out? That's very important to identify and know for yourself. If someone asks you, why do you have a food blog? You should have the answer ready. What does your blog address? You should have the answer ready. So that is the next. I see this happening a lot with blogs, and I'm a follower, to be honest, with my blog, mainly because if you feel like you're not at the right life stage to actually commit to this, think of it as a business. Even if you want to earn money, you have to commit to it. If you start off a business, you wouldn't leave it halfway and go, right? Similar to that, you can't start off a blog, leave it halfway, and come back and expect it to be there flourishing. It's not going to happen. It is an everyday job. You have to invest time every day to ensure that your blog new every single day, something for your blog every single day. It could be post, it could be something and taking pictures. So day be posting some, but you have to do something every day and keep the consistency. And you don't need blog every day. Maybe you blog once a week. Maybe you blog 2 times a week. Maybe you blog 2 times a month. All of that is okay. There is no right answer to how often, but you have to be consistent. That is the best way to be successful. So I hope I've answered some questions from you, Afreen. If you have further questions, please feel free to follow up on that. Um, so I'm okay. How I have my blog page, but how can I to your blog? You should have an answer to that. So for me, the way I have always thought about my blog is it's a place for very simple recipes. It's a place for quick recipes. I am actually not even an expert cook. I'll be the first person to admit this. But what I am good at is the whole package. I can cook, then I can write about it, and then I can post pictures about it, and I can market it. And my recipes are not bad, but I never said that I'm a great cook because that alone is not enough. So if you have a website today, think about what is it that you're addressing for your readers? Why should they come to you? And once you have that unique point, that unique selling point, talk about it in all of your posts, all of your messaging. Unless you have unique content, unless you have something unique to offer, it's very difficult to draw readers. And here's something else I would talk about in this at this time. I think it's very relevant because when you do something online, it's very popular to say, or it's very common to think, I've been blogging for 3 months, I'm not getting any success. You have to be patient. You cannot open a business in 3 months and expect to have profits. Pretty much every business that you think about takes at least a year or two to turn over, right? And I'm being very, very generous here with the timeline. For the first 2 years of my blogging journey, I would get this was an old time. But today we hear about all these 1 million views and I don't know, 250,000 views, and we want the same thing for ourselves. It does not happen overnight. I would actually say once you start your blog, keep creating consistent, high quality content. You need to be able to take good pictures if you have pictures. Don't post blurry pictures. If you don't have good, use that. Don't English if that is not your strong language. It is completely fine. So that's another tip I have. And that also will set you apart. You would actually have seen a lot of bloggers actually using Hindi, and they are immensely successful because a lot of people prefer to watch videos or read blog posts in Hindi. So think about those things. I'm just going to flip that around, Tripti. I know you wanted unique tips from me, but I'm going to flip it back to you and ask you to think about what makes you unique and talk about. Okay. So I have a question. She has mentioned that she has a YouTube. How do I promote and market it? YouTube again. The thing it is a video marketplace, as we know. It usually the traffic to YouTube comes either from Google search or it comes from other channels, right? Within YouTube, of course, there is search, but that is probably the third most important thing. The first important thing that you need to remember when you post on YouTube is to ensure, and there are lots of articles explaining this, you can Google it. Look at articles that explain to you how to title your video. Make sure that your videos are concise, short, very clear, specific. If you have a recipe, meaning it quickly. Today, it's all about quick and short. People don't have time to watch too much. If you can shoot videos without audio, that is the best. Because a lot of us consume content on our phones because mobile phones are just getting so much more popular. If you notice how you behave as a consumer, you would be using your phone a lot more today, right, than your desktop. We don't sit at a desktop anymore and start searching for things. So create content for the mobile user. That is the first tip I would have for you for YouTube. Ensure that you have a clear title. Make sure that you use all your keywords. Make sure that your video is high quality and edited properly. Your content is the most important. Each other in the days in 7 to 10. Half an hour a day, leaving comments on other. Not just because I wanted traffic, it was really interesting for me to actually meet people. A lot of us actually met. So YouTube today is still to do that. Leave comments in other channels. That is one way of doing it. Use your social media posts to actually get people to YouTube. Post on Facebook, post on Twitter, get people to actually visit you onto your YouTube channel. And the third thing I would say is the video content that you're creating, don't limit it only. Post it on other platforms as well. You should put it on Twitter. You should put it on Facebook, put it on Instagram, put it on Snapchat. Put that video wherever you can put it, right? That's the best way to get the maximum amount of reach. So that is another tip that I would have. Um, okay, we have an anonymous question from someone who says, I'm a good cook, but I don't have ideas on how to take it up professionally. I feel like I've answered this question. I think, as I was saying before, I'll just summarize very quickly because I've already addressed this. It's not enough if you're a good cook, unfortunately. It is important that you're a good cook if you want to blog about food because set you as an expert and you need to know more than the average person, definitely. But if you're only a good cook, then that is not enough because you would still need to know how to go online, how to set up a website, how to make that website successful, how to think of yourself as an entity, as a business entity. So that part, if you feel like you're not good at it, someone who's good at it to walk you through it. In fact, ideas and tips have come from people who know nothing about food blogging, but who are great business people. I asked them about marketing, I asked them to build a brand for myself, and that is a great way to move forward. Or there are lots of businesses you can hire to actually help you through this. So think about if you want, remember you have to invest if you want to get any returns. Think about hiring a consultancy, a bit. All right. So Alka has a very interesting question. Um, she's asking me if she can actually use a food blog. A food blog addresses a very different need for a user. A food blog is where people come because they want recipes. They want coming there to actually amp up, set up. You can even set up an Instagram page, a Twitter account, page, have your presence or have your how do you prep for to cook for 200 people in a given day, going about sourcing food for your truck? How do you come up with what to serve your customers? There are lots of interesting things people love to see about your business. So that would be a better use of time than starting. Han Madhu has a question. Can I write a food blog? I already spoke a little bit about this. In fact, I would say the way the internet trend in India are moving, we're expecting more Hindi speakers to come online in India than English speakers. Because if you think about it, the percentage of people who can speak English and who have access to English, as part of their education, it's kind of saturated already. All of those people are already online. Now India is working towards getting rural India online. And when the tier two cities and the rural parts of India come online, they are not going to be English speakers. They are going to be Hindi speakers primarily and other local language speakers. And in my opinion, you may not be getting millions of followers, but followers to keep you very happy. So I think if you have plans to blog, you apt. Uh, all right. So I have an anonymous question. It is about how can I promote my YouTube channel using platforms? So Sheroes is a platform that I joined fairly recently, but I've been playing around with it, for a few days now. What I love about Sheroes is the fact that it is a closed community. So you need to, register to come online. You can be anonymous if you want to, just like the person who asked the question. So what it is a platform for women. All of the topics the platform ensure that you only get topic. So I see that the food community and food community within Shiro would be a great way for you to. However, I'm against using a community to promote it too much because you don't want to bombard people with links all the time. A community is typically one where it is mainly meant for conversations rather than just get sharing links or sharing things. It's more for conversation, idea sharing. It has to be a mutual two-way conversation. So I wouldn't overuse it of promotion. A few more questions coming in, so in a few minutes. Questions coming into the YouTube live page, so I'm just going to read from there as well. Google for the answer. Find out how to start a food blog. Lots and lots of food bloggers have shared blog posts about this. You can read up on it. Think about where you want to set up your website. Do you want to set it up on Blogger or WordPress or something else? If you go with Blogger, a lot of the basic needs are already taken care of because Google owns the platform. They take care of a lot of things like hosting for you. You don't have to worry about space. And to set up the basic account is free. WordPress, on the other hand, is, I would argue, I will teach myself how to set up a blog. I will teach myself how to create a post. I will teach myself maybe some basics of photography, and I will cook and shoot 5 food recipes in the next days. I will have in, let's say, 2 social media platforms, and I will start posting content there. Because remember, when you open up a blog and then you have all of these social channels like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, remember that you also need time to channels. If you open up a profile, people follow you, then anything, it is very disappointing for them. So you need to have almost create a calendar. A lot of successful blog calendars, they think often do every Monday and Wednesday. Stay for the next 6 Mondays and Wednesdays. Recipes. Personally, keep at least 10 to 12 drafts of recipe. I can only cook on Monday to Friday. Usually on a Saturday, I cook about 3 dishes on a Saturday, take pictures, and I keep it. So that's one Saturday. Day or the following Saturday, I edit the pictures and I maybe start creating the blog post. And then the following Saturday, I'll actually refine my blog post and send it out live and also post on social channels. So to get out one blog post, it typically takes me multiple days. It is not something I sit down and do in one go, and it needs a lot of planning. And it means I don't nap. It means I'm doing this after my child goes to sleep. So you need to ensure that you're planning your time accordingly. So think about that before you even get started. Okay. Shilpi's Kitchen has a question on channel on YouTube and suggestions to grow. I feel like I've already spoken about this, but the first thing I would say, not just for YouTube channel, but in general, because I'm seeing a lot of these questions as well. The most important thing that you need to do is ensure that your content is interesting. Put your heart and soul into it. It is a creative process. Food blogging is a lot about creativity because it is art. Creating food not easy. It's not soul into it. Your content put on your website should be your best work. And then the rest of it will happen. It will need some work, but the rest of it will happen. But ensure that you have a good amount of content before you even think of growing your channel or growing your business. I have a comment from Prats. I'm just going to read that. It was so nice of you to do a live chat. Happy to read your updates on Instagram. I'm trying recipes from your blog and reading tips. Keep it up. Thank you so much, Prats. It's very kind of you to say. One of my main motivating factors, because I started blogging when, like I said, I was single and I had a lot of free time. I was in a new job. I was a beginner in my job. It was not a very hectic or, I wasn't working long hours. It was a fairly easy job in the beginning. So I had a lot of free time in the evenings after work and on weekends. And that's when I started blogging. So I had so much free time and I was just using it to, vent out my creative side because I loved writing as well. But soon that changed a lot. Even when I got married and I moved to Singapore, it was a lot. That was difficult. It was difficult both. It was a point in my career when I was difficult to travel because jet lag, you're really out of whack, you're exhausted, just physically. Creative process needs you to be relaxed physically, to think mentally. It was really difficult, but one of the key motivating factors for me was that a lot of my readers would always comment saying, I find your content useful, I found your recipes useful, I really liked XYZ recipe. Thank you for sharing, thank you for posting. And that question, which is from a non, it could be fruits in the background, tea, coffee, food picture is set up and laid out by a food stylist. Now, for food bloggers, we are our own stylists. We cook, we take the photos, we write, we do everything. But for more professional settings like food magazines or even larger food websites like Food 52 or The Kitchen or Huffington or whatever, those kind of large websites would use a food style the shot and then the photographer would. So they are actually done by two different things. A photographer's skill set is to use the camera. It is not to set a shot very well. So that is sort of how a stylist is defined. I know what a stylist. I'm not an expert on saying how to become one because I don't see myself as a very strong stylist. I just do enough for my blog, I guess. But it is a career that is definitely one of the things I would recommend if you really want to pursue that as a passion is to try and do some workshops or lessons because there is some art and science that goes into it. Like for one of the photography class that I went to, they did a small element on styling. And I remember the instructor telling me that you should look at the color wheel and complement color on a blue dish because that is when the image look real. I mean, that was a very specific tip about the color wheel or anything technical. Being a food stylist, I would recommend learning from people who are doing it. It's so good. Have been totally worth it because beyond a point, I didn't know how to use my SLR camera, and going to a couple of workshops really helped me. So I would recommend that really, but it can be quite backbreaking. You're always bent over a table trying to style different things and per a client's brief. So if it's really something that calls out, by all means, but be prepared, educate yourself, have your resume ready before you go out and start looking for jobs. Great. Okay, next question is from Shiny. She's asking, what inspired me to start my food blog? I started off in the beginning talking a little bit about this. So I was until I realized, one day I could just Google for recipes. And so I did that. I was looking for a particular Kerala recipe and I found it on this fellow Malayali blogger's website. Her name is Shaheen. I've never forgotten her blog. And I found it, I tried it, I loved it. I left a comment and she replied. And I thought that was really cool. I went online, I saw somebody's recipe on the internet. I don't even know this person. And here she was, she had a picture. My food came out exactly like her picture, her instruction. And I was already blogging actually, a personal blog, how, and I thought, why don't I write about, I'm going to be cooking a lot. because I really liked blog. And that's how I got started. And I also wanted to document a lot of the recipes from my mother and my grandma, who's now no more. So a lot of her recipes that I've documented are from her. I would ask her and I would write it down and then document it on the website. And that's pretty priceless for me. So that is just the beginning of how it all started. Um, okay, another great question from Alka. So this is a question that has been on my mind for a while. She says, so many people want to be a food blogger, but how can I be a known face in this competition? If you're Bengal or Rajasthan, or if you're from Delhi, or right, if you're good at regional cuisine, then that could be only about that. That will help set you apart from your blog will be about your regional cuisine. That is the first thing. The second thing is to plan. You need to have a plan for your business. How are you going to actually content is king. Your content is has to be for your readers. Your money. That's fine to be a successful to have your readers in mind. I'm not saying this because ads are bad. In fact, ads are good. I work in the ad industry, but you have to have you are investing your time, see that people actually see your recipes. As you see the traffic, and when you reach a critical mass, then you introduce ads. Another reason why I say this is because ads on your website actually slow down your website. And when you have a slow website, Google doesn't like that. So if you want, you should read up a little bit about Google search and how your website shows up in Google on the first page, search engine optimization. Again, I'm not an expert, I just know the basics, but Google loves fast websites. That is the most important thing. And Google loves websites that are made for the mobile because more and more of mobile. So if your content is catering to these needs and things, read up on that, then you're already at an advantage. So that these are the ways to actually stand. The third most important, even if you post a week or even once a month, it doesn't matter. If you post once a month, every month for the next 5 years, you may be successful. But if you are consistent, then I think that is more important than frequent. I believe this personally. From today, I don't blog as much as one post a month. There was a time when I was posting 3 times, very, very regular, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, super regular for many years. And it really, really paid off. My traffic exploded during that time. So consistency is very key. Quality of your content is very key, key. Write well, write without grammatical errors, write in a conversational tone. Think of your readers, think of what you're giving them, focus on your content. It will take longer today because of the competition. If 10 years ago we were able to put up a blog and get traffic in 3 months, now it will take a year. But you have to be patient and you have to be consistent through that time. Those are my biggest tips today for actually growing an online presence. So Vidya is asking about guiding you guys through my journey so that even she can be successful in the field. So on a serious note, my journey may not actually be something that you can replicate. I say this because my journey has been very organic. It was not a planned journey, and that's not the ideal way to do it. So if you were to work every single day, do that, learning and teaching themselves every single day. Blogging is not something you can start 10 years ago and just continue and you get passive income. Even if you don't blog, you go on a vacation, you're still earning money. It doesn't work like that. Especially on the internet, the pros of a food blog is that it's easy. The entry point is so simple, just set up a website and go, right? But when you do something online, you have to move with the times and the technology. Google search, the way it was 10 years ago, is very different from the way it is today. Today, you have focus on video. You'll find that YouTube thumbnails come up a lot in Google search. There's something called recipe markup. You will find that there's a picture of a recipe and ratings when you look for a recipe, right? That's an important thing. You need that. as and when one of the many platforms that you actually get exposure on, Facebook's another one, Instagram's another one, you need to know how each of them work fundamentally. How do these technologies work so that you can use that to your advantage? I'm not saying that's easy. You have to teach yourself every single day. You have to move with the times. It is something that requires your time and your investment. So you have to follow that. My journey, I call it earn an income from it. I've definitely earned from it, but that was more because of coming in. I had some, it was, but that my goal was never to earn a living from it because I've always worked, and that's sort of how I've done it. Even when I've taken breaks from work, I haven't taken a lot of breaks. I've never really focused on blogging. I deprioritize blogging when I have more important things happening in my life, and that's been fine. I took a 3 month break when I got married. I've been on a 16-month break since my baby arrived. I have to spend time with her when I have free time, as opposed to taking pictures or cooking. I have full-time help now, so she does most of the cooking. I don't. That's just how I've done it. So my journey has been very, very, very comfortable with that. If you feel like the journey that you want is to do this full time, then you'll have to plan it very differently. So look up to those people who are learning every day, teaching every day, and are consistently doing it. I think that's the best way to learn. And when I say learn from someone, please don't copy ideas. Food bloggers hate that. Bloggers hate that. Don't copy it. But look up to people who are doing a good job, how they're doing it, and try and apply that onto your blog. All right, I think we've come to the end of the questions. If anybody has any more questions, please do leave it in the comments below on the Sheroes community, and I'm happy to. But otherwise, could begin to wrap up. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I want to especially thank Sheroes for inviting me for the masterclass. I want to thank each and every one of you who came to view and ask your questions. I know the key question for everyone is, how do I break through? How do I start? And I think do something on the internet, it is it requires a lot of hard work. I would be the person to say I'm blogging more hard work than my actual job, because blogging means you have to be so disciplined with it. You have to plan so much. Sometimes I'm cooking something, the dish comes out fantastic, and I'm regretting not taking pictures because some days I don't want to take pictures when I'm cooking. I just want to cook and eat. So it is a difficult journey sometimes, but it can be very, very rewarding as well. You have to have patience. So tell yourself that you're doing a good job. Take feedback from your family, your friends, people who read your blog, even if it's 10 people in the beginning. So if you just be structured about it, if you feel skill sets and your interest, if you feel like you like writing, then blogging is a good thing for you. If you feel like English is not something you want to do, you want to blog in, that's fine. Use a regional language. Blog videos, you don't have to do videos. More popular, but you can still go somewhere with text and images. That's fine. Just get started. Don't hold yourself back. You don't need an SLR camera to start food blogging. Trust me. In fact, for the last, I think, 10 to 12 posts on my blog, if you want to visit it, I have actually blogged with my phone pictures. I take phone pictures and I blog it because people keep asking for baby food recipes, and matter as long as the pictures are not blurry. What is important to you, write it all down, make a plan, have a journey, have a 30, 60, 90 plan. 30 days, what do you want to achieve? 60 days, what do you want to achieve? 90 days, what do you want to achieve? And beyond, right? Keep your websites ad free for the first 6 months at least. Then you can introduce ads, get your website up, have at least, I would say, 25 to 50 recipes on your website. Bloggers I know, if they take vacation, create 10 recipes on their website, lined up, post when they're on Instagram and Facebook, Twitter. There, my blog is running, and if you have any questions on any of my social channels, and I'll try to come back. Thank you again, Sheroes, for the opportunity. Bye.